Good afternoon to teacher. So I will present about my group case study. So my teammate is have the Jasmine and me and Lim Feng Ya and Yap Hui Zun next. So I present about risk analysis and identification the primary vulnerabilities. So first one is the end user device weakness. So many employees use old laptop that lack strong authentication mechanisms such as multi-factor authentication and depend on weak password. These devices are significant security risks, especially if they are lost or compromised. In addition, the absence of clearance in bring your own device guideline means that individual device used for work cannot follow the correct security protocols, which increase the risk of unauthorized access or breakout of data. So another is privilege access failure. They are important question with access control in the organization. Member of the junior staff will receive very privilege that cannot be adapted to their role or responsibilities. In addition, access to sensitive resources as source code is unlimited, creating an environment with high risk where random or malicious abuse can occur and potentially compromise the integrity and privacy of the core system. So the third one is malware and vulnerability gaps. The organization tool for malware protection is old, where some systems do not receive update of more than 4 months. This makes it sensitive to new threats that depend on pattern on the non-attack. In addition, the presence of unpatched software weakness in various platforms increase the risk of exploitation of attackers who can use these weaknesses to disrupt unauthorized access or operation. So the fourth is data handling risk. Sensitive information includes source code is stored locally without encryption. This means that if a device is lost or stolen, the data can be easily reached by unauthorized individual. In addition, the lack of computer and leakage prevention mechanism increase concern about potential data exposure, especially when handling individually identified information or ownership material. So the last is login and monitoring labs. The organization lack effective monitoring of the system as abnormal traffic logs are often ignored instead of investigated. This inspection may allow malicious activity. Connection to the problem is no backup or profit for important system, making the organization very insecure for loss of data or data in the state of system failure or cyber attack. Next. So another is how to analyze the lack of secure device practice and never safeguard lead to the breach. So the first one is end user device failure, which has worsened significantly due to lack of secure device practice and insufficient network security measure. A major contributor was the end user device failure. The device lacked secure authentication methods such as multi-factor authentication or biometrics, making it easier for the attacker to take advantage of exploit stolen credential, often through phishing. In addition, the absence of proper bring or device guidelines allows individual on unmanaged device to connect to the network, which increase the risk of starting harmful malware. So second is privileged access mismanagement. Another important factor was privileged access mismanagement is junior employee are given to excessive access rights, which violate the principle of least privilege and constitute unnecessary risk. In addition, the organization failed to ensure access to the source code repositories so that the attacker could exfil the important data due to lack of access restriction. So third one is malware vulnerability care failure. The malware vulnerability management practice were also ineffective. Outdated anti-malware tools were unable to detect and prevent ransomware infection, while the unpatched system gave the attacker exploitative weakness due to the absence of proper vulnerability management program. So the fourth is data handling of round. When it comes to data handling, it was the failure of implementing encryption or computing technique. As a result, sensitive information that the source code was stored and sent in normal plain form, which increased exposure. In addition, no data leakage prevention was in place, which caused unauthorized data transfer and unlock. So the last is monitoring and backup failure. Finally, monitoring and backup strategy is insufficient. Critical system log are not reviewed, indicating abnormal behavior or unauthorized access. In addition, a lack of redundant backup system means that when the ransomware encrypt the server, there are no safe backup available to restore operation, reducing the loss of attack. So I ask for my next email.
Okay. In my part, I will explain how malware enter the system and how it spread across the network. I think I have 3 points. The first point is enter method. The most likely enter point was a phishers email containing a malicious link of attachment. Phishers work by exploiting human trust, making the user believe the email is legitimate. Once the link is clicked or the attachment is opened, the malware can bypass certain security control and enter the system. The point two is action after enter. After gaining access, the malware deploys its payloads. This is the main program that carry out the attack. Then it installer remote access to allowing attacker to control the infected device. Next, it scanning the network looking for vulnerable host that has unpatched software. And the third point is propagation. To spread further, the malware may have abuses in secure network protocols such as SMB. It could also use stolen credentials to move laterally between systems. This technique allows the malware to quickly expand its reach and impact more devices. Next slide. Now I will explain the failures in logging, backup, and redundancy. And the first is backup failures. Backup Backup was stored on the same network as the operational data. This means they were just available to be encrypted or deleted. There were no offline or offsite copies, leaving very limited recovery options. For still, backup were never tested for integrity or restorability, so they feel when needed most. Second is login failures. There was no centralized real-time login system in place. This means that sufficient activity such as abnormal network traffic, unauthorized file access, or priority escalation when completely unnoticed. Without proper monitoring, the attack continued for a long period without being detected. For the lastly, redundancy failures, the infrastructure had no failover capability. This creates a single point of failures, meaning that the failures of one server or network component could disrupt the entire operation. This lack of redundancy allowed the malware to cause widespread outages with no automated recovery in place. Next, I will give to my teammate.
Now we will discuss about the proposed device protection strategy. First is the access control. Implement the MAC to enforce strict access permission. MAC means that only system administrations can set the permission, so the user can't change them. This can prevent the unauthorized change. Principle of leave privileges. The limit user access to needed system and the data. The staff should only have the access to the system and the data required for their jobs only. This can reduce the exposure risk from access privilege. The company should regularly review of permissions to maintain the compliance. Next is the data masking. It is hide the sensitive data with fixed but realistic value. It can enable the safe testing without exposing the real data, so the developer can still work effectively without risking real patient data exposure. Using with the encryption together can enhance the security. Next is the vulnerability management. regularly identify, assess, and address the security weaknesses, using the patch management to apply the updates quickly, assess vulnerability and penetration testing to manage the risk with the automated scanning and the quick updates. This can help to uncover hidden risks before attacker can exploit them. Next. For the next part, we'll discuss about the secure network architecture model. First part is the device protection strategy. Here we have applied the MFA to prevent the unauthorized access to the critical system. We also have using the RBAC to make sure there's only the staff with the proper rule and can access the sensitive function. The company should update the OS and the antivirus software to regularly fix the vulnerability. The sensitive files like the patient records should never be stored unencrypted on the local machines. Next. On this part, we'll discuss about the technology. The updated network design separate the traffics and adds the multiple security layer. The NGFM with the web filtering to block unsafe traffic from the public user and the external developer. Public user and the developer connect through a DMZ, which is the web app server for the patients, and a secure VPN with the MFM for developer. They have an internal segmentation firewall protects the private network, which divides to the three zones. First is the protection zone, encrypts patient data and app server. Second is the development zone, test the server and the secure code storage. Plus is security zone, the path management and the log monitoring. This can reduce the change of malware spreading and improve the access control. Next part is the ISO IEC 27001 compliance step. First, we need to define the scope of sensitive information and system needs protections. Identify the read access system, data, and operations. Use a risk matrix to priority issue based on the likelihood and severity. Apply the security control like the encryptions and the activity logic. Provide the ongoing staff training and keep the documentations up to date. This step, we need to ensure that every employee understands their role and keep the policy and the incident response plan in well documents for the accountability. Last is the conduct regular audit to ensure the system remains secure and compliant. Using the audit to refine the control effectiveness and identify the outdated practices. Next. Last part is the SDLC practicals. We need to follow the secure coded practicals and perform the regular code review using automated tools to detect the bug and vulnerability during the developments. Adopt tips ops to embed security into every development press using the automated compliance checks before deploying to the productions. Last is the limit external developer access by secure VPNs, VMware, MFA, and foster DNA. Now I will pass to my team member.
So for my part, I will present evaluate the current software development practice. First is the lack of secure development lifestyle. No SDLC framework, for example, OWASP, SAMM, NIST, SDLC, and Microsoft SDL. This is the industrial standards that guide secure software development practice, and no threat modeling, secure coding, or penetration testing, and they will cause higher chance of serious vulnerability in software. Next is the weak access management and violations of the principle of least privilege. Privileged access was granted to junior staff without valid justification. Whereas the principle of least privilege (POLP) is users should only access what they need. The POLP means that user, account, or system should only be given the minimum level of access needed to perform their specific task. This will increase risk of the misconfiguration, source code leakage, and insider threat. This will cause hassle to trace accountability during security incident. And next is the outdated development tools and inadequate patch management. Anti-malware tools are not updated for over 4 months. No vulnerability in OS and library left unpatched. This will increase the risk of unauthorized access, privilege escalation, and ransomware attacks. It will cause the entry point for the attacker who enters the critical server. And next is the node separation between development and production environment. Node network and system segmentation, and developers have direct access to the live server via standard secure development practice, and this will increase the risk of the untested code in production and exposure of sensitive data. Since the development environment is less secure, attacker could use it to reach the production system and sensitive data. And next is the unsecure and uncontrolled storage of source code could store in the locally on development laptop and not encryption applied. Also, not central repository or version control. This will increase the risk of code threat if laptop lost or stolen, and not version tracking or audit log. This means that not central repository is poor tracking, collaboration, and auditing, making incident recovery harder. And last is the lack of monitoring and logging in the development pipelines. First is the unusual traffic when undetected and not proper monitoring tools increase the risk of hidden threat perceived and data exfiltration and lateral movement. If there are not real-time alert or regular review, notification will be received during an attack. And next is the outright revised policy for handling outsourced development and software protection. First is the outsourced development. We work only with vendors who pass security assessment and meet standards like ISO 27001. They must sign the NDAS, get only minimum high limited access, and follow our secure coding rule. All their code is reviewed and tested before production. No live system access is mean work is done in isolated and segmentation environment. And last is the soft code protection. All soft code will be stored in the secure centralization version control like GitHub Enterprise or GitLab. That's been not stored in the local device. It must be encrypted at risk and in transit with regular secure backup. Access followed at the risk privilege principle, and all users need MFA. Every change is logged, monitored, peer reviewed, and approved before release. That's all for our presentation. Thank you.